Lesson 70 is about probability. And probability is how probable is an event to happen. And the way to find the probability of an event is to compare the number of favorable outcomes over the total number of outcomes. So let's look at the first example. It says a fair coin. A fair coin just means that it's not weighted. So it's as probable to fall one side or the other one. A fair coin is tossed 3 times and comes up heads every time. What is the probability that on the next toss, so it's completely independent from the other 3 times, it will come up heads? So let's think about it. We want the probability of coming up heads, so I'll put an H. How many heads are there? Well, a coin has 1 head. And how many faces? 2. So the probability of coming up heads again is 1/2. Notice that the fact that we got heads the other 3 times does not affect at all our result here. We still have 1/2 probability of getting heads in the next toss. Let's look at the next example. It says 6 green marbles and 8 red marbles are in a container. 1 marble is drawn, so you get it out of the container and then drop back in the container. Then a second marble is drawn and drop back in the container. Both marbles were red. Again, that's not going to affect at all the next marble that we get out because we're just looking at it. We see it's red, we put it back in. We look at it, we put it back in. So the next marble that we draw is not going to be affected at all by what we got in the past. Let's continue reading. If another marble is drawn, what is the probability that it will be red? So again, what I want to do is put probability of red. And then we look at how many red marbles we have. It says we have 8 red marbles. So I'll put 8 here because that's the number of favorable outcomes. And then for the total, we have to add 6 plus 8 because there's 6 green and 8 red, and that is 14. Now remember always to reduce or simplify, and if we divide by half both the top and the bottom, we get 4/7. And that's it. That's our answer. Very, very simple. So red over total. Let's look at this example. It says a single die is rolled 3 times. The results are 1, 4, and 3 in that order. What is the probability that the next roll will produce a number greater than 2? Now notice that in this case, since we're working with a die, we have 6 different faces with numbers from 1 through 6. Now again, the first 3 rolls don't affect at all the next roll. So what is the probability of getting a number greater than 2? So we'll put here number greater than 2. Well, we have to count how many numbers are greater than 2. And it will be 4 numbers, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the total is 6 because there are 6 faces. And again, we reduce and the answer is going to be 2/3. Let's look at this other example. It says 2 dice are rolled. So now we have 2. What is the probability that the sum of the numbers rolled is 7? And what is the probability that it will be greater than 8? So the first thing we're going to do is a little table where we show what are the different possible additions we can get. So I'm going to write here the different numbers. So in the first die, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. In the second also, we have 1 through 6. Now, imagine that you have 2 dice and you start rolling them. If you roll the dice and you get 1 and 1 on top, then you add that and you get 2. If you get 1 and 2 and you add that, you get 3. And that's what we're doing, okay? We're just adding what is showing on the top. And so we do for all of them. 2 plus 1 is 3, 2 plus 2 is 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice how it's just really easy. We just fill it out like this. And now we can see the different kinds of results we can get when we add these 2. Notice that the smallest addition or the smallest sum we can get is a 2. And the biggest is a 12 because the biggest number is 6 plus 6 equals 12. So the probability of getting a 7, we put it here, is going to be counting all of the 7s here. So it's 6 over, and the total amount of sums is 36. If you add all of those blue numbers, you're gonna find that there's 36 numbers. And remember to always reduce 1 over 6. Now let's do B. Now we want a number greater than 8. So we want all of the numbers that are greater than 8. So we don't want 8, we just want 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that is 10 over, again, the same total, 36. And if we reduce that, the answer is going to be 5 over 18. And that's it. That is our answer. Now notice, what happens if they say, what is the probability of getting a 15 as the sum whenever we roll 2 dice? Well, in this case, there's no 15s because the numbers go from 1 through 6, so the biggest sum is a 12. So the probability is 0 over 36, and the probability is 0. And that makes sense, right? It's impossible to get a 15, so the probability is 0. Let's look at another one. It says, a fair coin is tossed 4 times. What is the probability that the first 2 times it comes out heads and the last 2 it comes out tails? Now you have to notice that this is a very different example. In this case, I want to know what happens if there is an order and I want to get in the first turn, I want to get head, in the second one head, in the next one tail, and in the last one tail. So it's not just one toss, it's actually 4 and in that order. So what is the probability of getting that? What we do in this case is multiply the probability of each one of those events. So the probability of getting heads is 1/2. The probability of getting heads again is 1/2. The probability of getting tails is 1/2. And the probability of getting tails is 1/2. And if we multiply that, is 1 over 16. And that's our answer. Now in this example, they introduced the idea of a spinner. A spinner, you probably have seen it, is one of those circular things that is divided. So let's divide it here, let's say like this. And we have a number in each one of these things. Okay? And there's like a little arrow thing that we flip and it falls in one of the numbers. So it says, what is the probability that the spinner stops on 4 and then on 3? So we have probability that it stops on 4 and then on 3. Again, we're going to multiply the probabilities of each of the events. So the probability of falling on 4 is 1 over 4 because there's only one 4 and there's a total of 4 different numbers. And the probability of falling on 3 is also 1/4 because of the same reason. So I multiply, and 4 times 4 is 16. So the probability is 1 over 16. And that's it. That's the lesson. Different exercises of probability. So if you have any questions, look at the video again and let me know in the comments if I can help you with anything. And I'll see you in the next video.